After returning home, the crown prince's concubine's vest could no longer be hidden. Chapter 1, Abandoned like a piece of shoes. Chapter 1, Abandoned. During the Yongyu period, the winter began, and the water on Guannan Road caused no harvest of particles. The hungry people in Qizhou, Qingzhou and other places traveled thousands of miles north, and countless hungry people were killed and frozen to death. This year's winter avenue came very early. After a night of fine snow, crystal white frost was hung on the leaves of the plants and trees, and a thin layer was also laid on the ground. It was a little brighter. At the entrance of Xiaofu village, a group of villagers who were on high alert were gathered, holding wooden sticks and hoes, staring at the group of ragged refugees opposite. Both sides pushed each other and clamored loudly. On the dirt not far from the entrance of the village, several carriages were quietly parked on one side, and 5 or 6 women were gathered around a circle of fires to eat tea and chat. "I want me to tell you that on this cold day, we shouldn't have come out to pick up this miss-you." Hongwei glanced at the noisy entrance of the village, blunt her mouth in disgust, turned her head and changed to another smiling face to please her. He looked at a middle-aged woman with a long face. "Madam, do you think so? You've been tired all the way." Madam, who raised her eyelids and looked at her, picked up the tea and drank slowly. "Don't forget that Miss Yu is the real lady in the governor's house." "Oh, who doesn't know this?" Hongwei smiled contemptuously. "It said that she was a legitimate lady from the governor's house, but she has a strong fate. She ran into the princess's mother and was thrown into the village for more than 10 years to fend for herself. If it weren't for this old man on the 60th birthday of my wife, I occasionally read half of her sentence. God knows if she will be taken back in this life." "Not." Another old lady surnamed Fong touched, with a disdainful look on her face. "She is the old saying goes, a lady with a body and a girl. She has a despicable fate and should be criticized by others." Hongwei smiled and added some hot water to Madame Hu and Madame Fong. "That girl was abandoned in the village since she was 3 years old. Who wouldn't know that there was no place for her to stay in the mansion for so many years?" Then he his mouth at the entrance of the village with the torch below. "Mums, can she deal with this?" Madame Hu said softly, "Will you go over and take a look at it? Go and call the guards in the mansion and let's go down to watch the fun together." Several maids giggled and helped Madame Hu and Madame Fong get up and headed towards the entrance of the village, where the more he was getting more and more violent. At that time, many refugees surrounded Xiaofu village, broke through the fences temporarily set up by the villagers and rushed towards the village like crazy. Everyone goes into the village to grab it together. What are we afraid of if we have nothing left? As long as we can break through, are we afraid of not having enough food to eat? Big Head Brother is right. Everyone is fighting. Village Chief Chen Funong took all the strong men in the village, chasing them with sweat, shouting, "Everyone, calm down. Don't be confused when you are impulsive. Everyone, everyone." He shouted at the top of his lungs, but who could pay attention to him at this moment? All the refugees who rushed into the village were red and followed Big Head to the largest house in the village. "Look at it. This farmer looks the most spacious and wealthy, and must be a rich family. You don't have to be polite to them, take it." The big-headed brother shouted, "Take," and shouted the momentum of trying to drive the mountains. All the refugees who followed him felt a boiling blood. Just as I was about to open the main door with my feet, I heard a slight creak sound, and the gate of the courtyard opened by itself. The morning light is hazy. A girl in plain clothes and light clothes stood quietly and looked light-hearted. The black silk is picked up with a thin green bamboo. The dark lacquer eyes were flowing, and a coolness flashed by at once, which made the refugees who were surging with blood inexplicably raise a trace of crisis, and they couldn't help but take a step back, half a step. She was obviously just an ordinary girl, but just standing there and looking at her, she gave people a feeling of flowing in the mountains and mountains. It seems like taking the front half is endless blasphemy. Seeing that everyone was not moving, Big Head Brother couldn't help but raise his arms and shout, "What are you waiting for? Rush." "I'll rush after thinking about it, don't take ignorance as fearlessness." The girl's tone was cold. She raised her eyebrows slightly, her eyes fell on the big-headed brother's face, and slowly moved down. Seeing this, Big Head Brother shrank his neck and hurriedly covered his face with random ships on his face, and his eyes dodged and did not dare to touch him. Yu Lin Lang moved a small step away, turned his gaze to the refugees, and said lightly, "You are rushing, stealing and robbing, and the nature of yourselves is completely different. You used to be displaced refugees, but now you want to become bandits and become disgusting bandits. Are you trying to challenge the laws of the Great Qi and become enemies of the entire Great Qi?" The sound was neither high nor low nor fast nor slow, but it was like a basin of ice water, pouring on everyone's body, causing the blood trembling in everyone's bones to cool a little. When the Big Head Brother saw that the situation seemed to be very unfavorable to his side, he hurriedly instigated him again, "Silly, what are you waiting for? The mountains of gold and silver are placed in front of you, big fish and meat are waiting for you to enjoy. Just show a little courage, as long as you think, everything is yours. Listen to Big Head Brother. We are almost starving to death, so why bother with so much? No mistakes, one song, one content, 1 in 6, one book, one bar, one reading. The law does not blame everyone. If you are not talking about this little girl, let's go with her and take her down first." Several people followed the big-headed brother forward without hesitation, and their eyes flashed, and they were about to throw themselves into the girl standing upside down in front of the door. Yu Lin Lang curled the corner of her lips and called out softly, "Jiujin, beat me. Those leading dogs barking, break their legs first and then discuss the others." Suddenly, a girl with round face and pink cheeks jumped off the roof, holding a red fire stick in her hand, and smashed it at Big Head Brother and others without saying a word. The stick that burned until it turned red seemed to have eyes, and only knocked on the legs of Big Head Brother and the others who were leading the clamor. The hot fire sticks groaned the skin on the person's body, causing the brothers to run away with their heads in their arms. After a few strokes, the big-headed brother and the others were knocked to the ground by the little girl, and several dog legs were broken. Jiujin swung the fire stick and turned around, then kicked the big-headed brother's chest and stomped him out a mouthful of old blood. Seeing this, the onlookers were so scared that they quickly scattered and retreated with their expressions of horror. The law does not punish the public, and it is never an excuse to violate the law and discipline. Yu Lin Lang spoke out lightly, and his gaze flashed across the people in front of him. "I know that most of you are deceived and exploited by villains, so you get angry and rob the village. Now, identify the leader, and when the county government office arrives, hand over the person who is provoking trouble." Yu Lin Lang stared at the many refugees in front of him. "This matter has nothing to do with you. Don't listen to her nonsense. This woman is sowing the disagreement." Big Head Brother was stepped on the ground and couldn't get up, so he could only scream with his face on his face. "Take off his clothes. Let everyone present see clearly." Datu was shocked and shouted wildly, "Let go, I will let go, you dare, you." Sweep. The ragged outer shirt was torn and broke, revealing a tiny cotton cloth inlaid silk-edged inner jacket. End of this chapter. After returning home, the Crown Prince's concubine's vest could no longer be hidden. Chapter 2, Unusual. Chapter 2, Ordinary. All the refugees present opened their eyes wide and showed an incredible look. The wind slept in the open, wandering around for thousands of miles. None of the hungry people were covered in rags, and they didn't even have a decent coarse linen. This man was actually wearing a cotton lining, and his hair was lifted up by Jiujin and exposed his face. He was also very tender. He is not worried when pretending to be poor, and only uses his random hair to cover most of his face. At this time, he brushed away his messy hair and saw that his face was quite moist and shiny, with no similarity to the pale and thin refugees. "Are you from Chizhou?" the refugees asked angrily. "What are you doing in our team?" "Scammer." The refugees clamored, "Girl, there was him just now, he, and the others, and they all encouraged us to come in and grab things." "That's right. The lady is right. We are just being used by others to commit such a fool. Miss is kind-hearted and hopes to let us go. We are willing to identify these people. They are malicious and coercive and tempting everyone to enter the village to rob." A hint of panic flashed in Big Head's eyes. He was worried that he could not break free from Jiujin's hands, so he could only shout at the top of his throat, "I'm not, don't blame me. Isn't it? Didn't you deliberately instigate? Didn't you mix in the crowd of refugees and take the opportunity to make trouble? Didn't you fan the flames and clamor for everyone?" Yu Linlang sneered, "You are obviously not a refugee in Chizhou, but you have ulterior motives to mix in the group of refugees. Weizhou Prefecture was ordered to accept refugees. Originally, they were able to settle down along the official road and go all the way to Weizhou Prefecture. Why did they turn a big turn and come to our small village in Xiaxin? The refugees in Chizhou are thousands of miles away. Can they know about our remote village? Unless, someone with ulterior motives leads it." The refugees suddenly realized, and they accused them both angry and hated. "That's right. It's them. We were attracted by these people." Some tired elderly women hugged the child and cried bitterly. "They are already so miserable. Why are there still people who are so vicious and actually use them to make trouble? What is their intention?" It was Dada said. He said that there would be more than 10 days to go to Weizhou Prefecture. We were short of water and food. If there was no supply, we would definitely starve to death. Yes. I can testify too. Dadu and his friends have been talking. There is a small Fu village that is very close to us, so everyone can take a break from the way. The village is rich, maybe there is extra food to provide for it. Everyone. Scheming guy. Everyone is so miserable, you still want to deceive us. Fight, beat them to death. The big-headed guy looked panicked and quickly reached out to cover his head. At the same time, he was overturned by several people and trampled on the ground to vent his anger. Jiujin retreated silently behind his lady, hugged his arms and sneered. On that side, Madame Hu and Madame Fong came with a group of guards, and happened to run into a hurry with the village chief and his party. At first glance, there were hundreds of people suppressing them, and they were fighting against several people. Village Chief Chen Funong was frightened and worried that a lawsuit would arise, and the situation was difficult to control. So he angrily shouted, "Get out of the way, get out of the way. Don't beat me. This village has reported to the village chief. If you dare to go into the village to commit an offense, the county government will send someone to arrest you in a moment. We will consider the consequences." Most of the refugees stopped hearing the sound, only a few young and strong people grabbed Dadu's collar and fell on the other person's face with one punch. Madame Fong's eyes were sharp-eyed, and she saw clearly the person being beaten. She thrust her face and screamed loudly to stop her, "What are you doing?" She turned her head and scolded the guards of the governor's house, "Stop and make a fuss. Come and separate these people. Jiujin, don't let someone run away in the random way." Yu Linlang called out. The little girl jumped forward quickly, stepped on the big head that she wanted to escape with one foot, and the fire stick fell heavily on his back, causing the other party to scream. Madame Fong was shocked and opened her mouth and shouted, "You, who are you? Why are you so rude? Seeing that you are so nervous, is it that you are familiar with this thief?" Yu Linlang walked forward, glanced at the man on the ground, and turned his eyes to Madame Fong and Madame Hu. Madame Fong hurriedly spoke out and said, "What? What thief? Don't talk nonsense, who are you?" "Madame Fong, don't be rude. If I guess correctly, this is Miss Yu who we need to pick up on this trip." Madame Hu smiled and looked up and down at Yu Linlang in front of her. How to say it? The little girl has a slender body and is very outstanding in her bones, but as stated in the letter, her face is really ordinary. The eldest lady was a famous beauty in the capital back then, and she was so beautiful that she was so beautiful, but now this lady is, that little bit of a sense. After all, it was not a noble daughter who was raised in the boudoir since childhood. Madame Hu suppressed her contempt in her eyes and said with a smile, "Miss Yu, my husband's family's surname is Hu. This time, it is the order of the old lady of the governor's house, come and pick you up home. No mistakes, one song, one content, 1 in 6, one book, one bar, one reading. Madame Hu is one of the most useful madams around the governor." Hongwei added with a proud look on her face, looking at Yu Linlang's two masters and servants with almost no direct eyes. Yu Linlang ignored them at all and only gave Jiujin a wink. A 9-pound fire stick was slapped, and a crisp sound was heard. The man lying on the ground, like a waste fish, bounced reflexively and howled in pain. Madame Fong's face changed drastically. She went forward and wanted to take the fire stick in Jiujin's hand, cursing, "How can you hurt people's lives like this? I'm afraid you don't want to take human lives aside." Yu Linlang grabbed the old woman's arm, and a hint of coldness filled her eyes. "Don't stop, continue to fight. Such bandits who instigated refugees to cause trouble deserve to be beaten to death on the spot." Madame Fong exclaimed, "You dare? Do you think I dare?" Yu Linlang pushed the old woman's arm back vigorously. The clear and dark eyes touched the old woman, which immediately made the old woman feel excited. The dull pain from his arms was so painful that the old lady was sweating coldly on her head. Stop hitting, ah. Auntie, please spare your life. Mom, save me, Mom. Jiujin and 3 sticks hit big head brother all over the ground, and he asked me to help me. Madame who secretly cried out in her heart that something was wrong, and she was slanderous and wanted to make a bad thing. Sure enough, Datu and a few people rolled towards Madame Fong. Save me, Mom, save me and save me. Madame, help me. Madame who couldn't help but snatched her face secretly. But seeing that her expression remained unchanged, she sneered, then let go of the arm of the sage and pushed back heavily. The old woman and the big-headed brother were filled with tears, and they hugged each other. Mom cried bitterly. It's really a mother and son. Yu Linlang sneered. End of this chapter. After returning home, the crown prince's concubine's vest could no longer be hidden. Chapter 3, The legitimate daughter is only worth on. Chapter 3, The legitimate daughter is only worth 1 or 2. The two of them looked up in fear and looked at Yu Linlang, who was staring at them from a high place. Somehow, as soon as I touched the faint eyes, I felt like I had been completely seen through from top to bottom. As a slave to the governor's office, he ignored the dignity of the governor's office, ignored the voice of the governor's office, and ignored the suffering of the hunger and the people. He specially attracted these refugees just to find my bad luck. Should you say you are stupid and bad, or are poisonous and ignorant? Yu Linlang's face was light without any sorrow or joy. I'm sorry to the village chief and the person and send it to the county government. Chen Funong was still a little confused at this time and was trying to digest what was happening here. Before he could react, Madame who was shocked and stepped forward, Miss. If this matter is caused, it will be the face of our governor's mansion. After all, this is a family matter, and it is not good for the men of the government to do everything. It's also because I'm confused when I'm old. I don't know that the thief's wife is taking his own initiative and secretly sending her son to disturb the public. Madame who squeezed out a look of shame and gave Xiao Fuhua a deep bow. Miss Yu is wronged. But don't worry, I must handle this matter well. When I go back, my wife will sell the whole woman's family. Mr. Hu, why do you sell me? Madame Fong stared at her eyes and screamed, my mother and son are just doing what they are told. And don't you all assume the show along the way? They also bet whether Miss Yu can solve this problem well. But the incident in the east window is exposed, but I want to push it all to our mother and son. I tell you, there is no way. Madame who turned her head and interrupted viciously, this crazy woman is talking nonsense, but she doesn't even block her mouth and drag it down, it's gone to taint Miss Yu's ears. Didn't you mix in the crowd of refugees and take the opportunity to make trouble? Didn't you fan the flames and clamor for everyone? Yu Linlang sneered, you are obviously not a refugee in Qizhou, but you have ulterior motives to mix in the group of refugees. Weizhou Prefecture was ordered to accept refugees. Originally, they were able to settle down along the official road and go all the way to Weizhou Prefecture. Why did they turn a big turn and come to our small village in Shaxin? The refugees in Qizhou are thousands of miles away. Can they know about our remote village? Unless, someone with ulterior motives leads it. The refugees suddenly realized, and they accused them both angry and hated. That's right. It's them. We were attracted by these people. Some tired elderly women hugged the child and cried bitterly. They are already so miserable. Why are there still people who are so vicious and actually use them to make trouble? What is their intention? It was Dada said. He said that there would be more than 10 days to go to Weizhou Prefecture. We were short of water and food. If there was no supply, we would definitely starve to death. Yes. I can testify too. Datu and his friends have been talking. There is a small Fu village that is very close to us, so everyone can take a break from the way. The village is rich, maybe there is extra food to provide for it. Everyone. Scheming guy. Everyone is so miserable, you still want to deceive us. Fight, beat them to death. The big-headed guy looked panicked and quickly reached out to cover his head. At the same time, he was overturned by several people and trampled on the ground to vent his anger. Jiujin retreated silently behind his lady, hugged his arms and sneered. On that side, Madame Hu and Madame Fong came with a group of guards, and happened to run into a hurry with the village chief and his party. At first glance, there were hundreds of people suppressing them, and they were fighting against several people. Village chief Chen Funong was frightened and worried that a lawsuit would arise, and the situation was difficult to control. So he angrily shouted, "Get out of the way, get out of the way. Don't beat me. This village has reported to the village chief. If you dare to go into the village to commit an offense, the county government will send someone to arrest you in a moment. We will consider the consequences." Most of the refugees stopped hearing the sound, only a few young and strong people grabbed Dadu's collar and fell on the other person's face with one punch. Madame Fong's eyes were sharp-eyed, and she saw clearly the person being beaten. She thrust her face and screamed loudly to stop her. "What are you doing?" She turned her head and scolded the guards of the governor's house, "Stop and make a fuss. Come and separate these people. Jiujin, don't let someone run away in the random way." Yu Linlang called out. "How many months should Miss Yu have?" The girl named Hongwei took a step forward, raised her chin slightly and said proudly, 10 taels per month are not as good as the monthly rate of our mansion, but the eldest lady said that she ate vegetables, fruits, rice and grain in the small village. All can be provided by Xiao's Wangzi, and they are very self-sufficient and do not require too much money to spend, so 10 taels are enough. The onlookers looked at each other. Village chief Chen Funong's face was also extremely awkward. This Miss Yu was born in a wealthy family, but she was free to be raised in their small village in Fu village, which is well known to everyone. They knew that Miss Yu was not favored, but they did not expect that she was so unwelcome to the master's family, and even the maids and servants did not seem to take her seriously. On this side, Madame Hu wanted to reach out to cover the girl's mouth. "How did you say?" Wu Biaoan said nothing in front of others. Such a brainless girl, she had wanted to promote her before, but now she seems to be a waste of snacks. Without any sense, he even said the wife's heart. "You have to be embarrassed in front of others." Hongwei curled her lips and took a few steps back without regard. She followed the nannies to go on this Heidong trip, feeling a little unhappy. Recently, there are hungry people everywhere, and there are frozen bones everywhere, so it is extremely unsafe to go out. It took at least 6 days to go from the Weizhou governor's mansion to this small village in the corner. The return trip also had to squeeze in with the hungry people who beg and were dirty along the way. It was really annoying. Seeing that this daughter-in-law looked ordinary and had no similarity to her wife, she ignored her very much and looked down on her from the bottom of her heart. She was a little ungrateful without realizing it. Madame Hu quickly laughed and made things easier. "Miss Yu, don't listen to this dead girl talking nonsense. The old slave will send someone to investigate the monthly matters. But the most important thing at the moment is your return home. It's getting colder and colder. If the road gets frozen, it's even harder to walk. Why don't we set off tomorrow morning? If you have a hard time today, I have to hurry up and pack up my personal supplies." Yu Linlang gave her a look, threw a sentence, "As for you," and turned around and left. "Miss Yu, our nanny hasn't finished speaking yet." Hongwei stomped her feet and shouted at the back of her departure. The girl who has been abandoned in the farm since she was a child dares to have such a big temper. It should be noted that over the years, she has no place to stay in the mansion, and I don't know how arrogant she is. So what if you have a daughter? No mistakes, one song, one content, 1 in 6, one book, one bar, one reading. It's better to be the second lady who was taken into the house by mistake. Although the eldest lady was not the eldest lady's biological child, she was better than her biological child. She was much more noble than this legitimate daughter who was free from the countryside. If she asked her to say that this legitimate daughter is worth at most 1 or 2 taels, she would be afraid that she would not be lucky enough to be saved. Madame, whose eyes moved strangely, staring at the direction where the master and servant left without saying a word for a long time. When the two of them turned around the small door, they saw Miss Yu look slightly and glance at her slowly. Madame, who felt that the eyes dropped from the air, were cold and thin, cold and long, and suddenly she was frightened and retracted her gaze. He smiled and nodded at the old village chief, then "I'll bother the village chief, said the rest. Chen Funong nodded repeatedly, "It's easy to say," and glanced at the hungry people on the side, sighing, "You guys come with me." Asterisk. It was day and night, and the candles were coming. Yu Linlang focused on trimming a pot of green plants with special shapes, and then gently put down the scissors and cleaned his hands. A light sound came from outside the pane, and Yu Linlang turned his head and glanced at Jiujin. The latter nodded in understanding and immediately opened the window. "Where are they now?" Yu Linlang took a few steps forward and Liang Dan said. "The shadows of trees sway under the window," and the shadows swayed. "Master, please follow me." In a moment, the master and servant came to the inconspicuous backyard, turned over the partition and went down from the earth stairs, and slowly walked into the cellar. There are 2 torches hanging on the wall, which is still bright. The space in the cellar is not large, and it is usually used to store grain, vegetables and fruits. Now there is a large tank in the center. Madame Fong and her son are tied up, and their shoulders are soaked in wet ice water. End of this chapter. After returning home, the Crown Prince's concubine's vest could no longer be hidden. Chapter 4, But I Don't Want to Be Kind. Chapter 4, But I Don't Want to Be Kind. The two of them had white lips and blue faces, and their upper and lower teeth were clattering. Yu Linlang took out a jade-colored porcelain bottle from her sleeve and handed it to Jiujin. Jiujin stepped forward with a cold face and whispered, "Unhappy, it's a bargain." She moved rudely and straightforwardly, raised her hand and slapped it, and dripped it into the mother and son's mouth one after another, then put away the porcelain bottle and returned it behind Yu Linlang. The Fong family and his son were trembling and felt a warm feeling rising from their lower abdomen, and they seemed to be warmer. "What, why are you? What do you want to do when you catch us here?" Madame Fong's lips trembled, and she looked stern and asked on the inside. Jiujin grabbed the other party's collar and slapped him in the face. "What are you talking about? Just ask you what answer. The prisoner below the ranks does not have the right to ask questions." Yu Linlang glanced at the two of them indifferently and asked, "Who sent you here?" Before Madame Fong could open her mouth, Yu Linlang said lightly, "I don't want to hear those random lies. If you make up a random sentence, I'll let someone stab the man in the body. You calculate it yourself, the man can hold on. What's the knife?" Jiujin pulled out the shiny dagger after his waist and smiled at Madame Fong, who was grey on her face. Madame Fong's pupils shook and she almost immediately shouted, "It's Aunt Ma, what Aunt Ma ordered to do. Aunt Ma has used a lot of money, so we can try our best to stop you from going back. She also said that as long as you can keep the lady in Xiaofu village, we will be promoted in the future. But the idea was made by us together. We met many hungry people on the way, thinking about bringing these people to you. Once they collided with each other, life or death was unknown. Although the old woman who didn't plan with us, she knew everything from beginning to end, and there was no stop. Even the way to cause chaos by pretending to be hungry people is actually Madame who mentioned it from the side. Otherwise, how could I think of such a way to suffer from plague? She is a relatively close nanny around the eldest lady. Doesn't her apology and guidance mean that this is what the eldest lady means? It is precisely because Madame Fong has her wife's acquiescence and reliance that she dares to let her son take risks. Although Aunt Ma did send someone to ask her for help at the beginning, she wouldn't have the wife to support her in the future. Wealth and honor are in danger, let alone what dangers can be in this matter. Madame Fong believes that she is not a good job of dealing with a girl who has been raised in the country since childhood. I didn't expect to kick a thick iron plate. Her intestines were now regretful, and the warmth in her body was slowly moving away as time passed. She was very scared, and Fong Datu was even more frightened and begged for mercy. Yu Linlang ignored them and stretched out his hand to Jiujin. Jiujin immediately took out a thick booklet from his arms and handed it to her. Yu Linlang opened a few pages, wandered between the lines with his fingertips, and fell to a place and pointed it gently. Ma, a foolish and cowardly person, has a very low status in the governor's mansion, like an invisible person. He has a concubine's eldest daughter, it was also obtained unexpectedly, and he never won favor after that. Just her. Let the silver stop me from returning home. She is an unpopular little aunt who has nothing to do with me. What's the point of stopping me? Yu Linlang's voice was faint, and it fell into Madame Fong's ears, but it was like a huge thunder banged. What is the booklet in Miss Yu's hand? Could it be that this booklet contains all the information of everyone in the governor's office? The chill was so cold that she, a little girl who had been in the countryside for more than 10 years, did she get such great energy and ability? Madame Fong felt instinctively that she seemed to have messed with someone she shouldn't have messed with. The teeth trembled again and he replied, "Old, I dare not deceive the lady. It is indeed Aunt Ma's subordinate who secretly asked me to do the money. I gave it twice, and it was a total of 25 taels. Old slaves, and I have to testify with me. Then I gave my son 3 ounces and hired 6 or 7 on the streets of Weizhou, intending to get into the hungry team first and then wait for an opportunity to act. I never thought that I was in trouble, but I was found out by everyone, and I was beaten to death, which was not worth the loss." Madame Fong cried loudly, "I have told you all, everything above is true, girl. As for why Aunt Ma is embarrassed by the girl, I don't know the reason. But girl, you look like a smart and skillful person. You will be able to find out the reason after you return home. Please spare our mother and son's lives in the face of our wife. Although the old slave is not as good as Madame Hu in front of his wife, he is still the old man in front of his wife. If the old slave died in this Xiaofu village without understanding, the eldest lady would be even more afraid of the lady. You should know that the eldest lady has always felt that you were forced to punish your parents, and you are extremely disliked by the young lady. If it weren't for this, how could she have instructed Madame Hu to cooperate with the old slave?" Bang! Jiujin slapped her hand and was furious. Who is the one who is going to kill her? Such a bad old woman dared to insult the lady in person. No mistakes, 1 song, 1 content, 1 in 6, 1 book, 1 bar, 1 reading. Yu Linlang's emotions did not fluctuate at all, and she just said lightly, "Don't talk too much nonsense to her." Madame Fong was frightened and shouted, "If the old slave dies, wouldn't it be true that the rumors? You have not returned home yet, so you will be killed by a nanny next to your wife." She gasped and shouted anxiously, "It sounds so bad to say it out. If you can spare our mother and son's lives, the old slave will definitely be able to go back after you go back. Be your help. I can't say that I can help the lady say more beautiful words in front of her. Although it may not make her love for you immediately, it will not make her look even worse." Yu Linlang closed the book and handed back 9 pounds. Looking at Fong's mother and son, he had no expression. "You are quite able to speak. Please be kind to me, Mississippi. Madame Fong is really regretful now. If she had known Miss Yu was so powerful, how could she have done her last resort? I never dared to take the money from Aunt Ma. But I don't want to be kind." Yu Linlang glanced at them, slowly threw a word and turned around and walked towards the earth ladder. Madame Fong and her son were panicked and opened their mouths and shouted to spare their lives. The two of them trembled their bodies together, and the tank body collided, making low buzzing sounds. Jiujin spread out the thick booklet, took out a pen, drew a red line on the 2 nearby names, and then grinned at them. Madame Fong felt her whole body was cold and she felt that the 2 red lines wiped away their mother and son's lives. Yu Linlang returned to the ground and ordered Jiujin to put down the cellar cover, so she could stay here, so she went back to her room to rest. In the cellar, As the torchlight gradually dimmed and the temperature became lower and lower, the Fong and his son were soaked in cold water and kept swaying. It's getting colder and colder. It seems that the unknown liquid in the jade porcelain bottle can only keep them warm for a moment and be used to answer questions and answer questions. Now the warmth fades away, and the vertebrae becomes colder. The Fong family and his son went from panic to complaining to each other, accusing and hating each other. As time passed, the noise gradually faded. End of this chapter. After returning home, the Crown Prince's concubine's vest could no longer be hidden. Chapter 5, Hungry Tide. Chapter 5 Hungry Tide. The next morning, 3 horse-drawn carriages and ox carriages quietly left Xiaofu village under the escorts of the guards. Madame Hu, Hongwei and her group really didn't expect that when they came, they were still sitting in the carriage, but when they returned, they could only squeeze on the ox carriage and blow the cold wind all the way back. Hongwei hurried beside the nanny, her teeth trembling with frozen teeth. I have to take all the ragged things back, but I actually loaded 2 cars and occupied our seats. So, it's really a slutty girl who grew up in the countryside. If you treat us so harshly, you don't know the general. After she returned, she would definitely complain, making this dead girl unable to move in the governor's mansion. In fact, it is not the most affliction to ride a ox cart. What makes Madame Hu and others feel the most uncomfortable is that they are stuck in a group of smelly refugees, smelling all kinds of fishy smells, and are also forced to accept it. Various gazes came from all around. Hongwei subconsciously tightened the bag in her arms, and always felt that the hungry people with disheveled heads were very stunning. Don't talk nonsense and look at your own things carefully. Madame Hu scolded her in anger, feeling upset. Early in the morning, the guards came to report that Madame Fong and her son disappeared, and she felt something was strange. People have been locked in the woodshed, but why did they suddenly disappear before leaving? The legitimate daughter also had a gun and a stick, making it seem like she had secretly released the person. She was absolutely unfairly killed. Big sister, you are kind and give me some food. Suddenly someone reached out his hand. Hongwei screamed in fear, go away, no, nothing. Please give me a little, my child is about to starve. A little bit, just a little bit. Anything you eat is fine. Hongwei screamed, go away, go away. Dirty, don't touch me. I warn you, this is the official road, don't do anything randomly. Several guards accompanied him to drive away the hungry people, and they hurriedly retreated and then retreated. Seeing that they were afraid of the guard's knife, Hongwei couldn't help laughing at them, and the person trembled, I still want to steal our things, I can't beat you to death. A group of stinky beggars, without any self-knowledge, get away. Sir, say a few words. Madame Hu's heart broke out and pulled her arm hard. Don't really anger these refugees, no matter how many guards have, they will be difficult to deal with. What are you afraid of, madam? Hongwei raised her head and sneered, are you just some hungry people with thin life dare to come and bump into us? After saying that, he took out the snacks from the bag and showed off, did you see it? We have some food, but you stinky beggars are not worthy of enjoying it. You're crazy. Madame Hu pulled her back suddenly, her eyelids kept pounding, and her face was so angry that she was deformed. Why did her old woman order such a brainless waste to go on the road together? When Madame Hu was screaming in her heart, the hungry people around her who were blushing with cold faces rushed over like crazy. They really have a lot to eat. Bring it to me. Hongwei was shocked and was dragged and knocked down from the ox cart without checking. Her back was heavily slammed on the dusty ground, and she screamed with a scream. Guard Chen, save me and save me. Several guards drew their swords one after another, but more hungry people rushed from behind, hugging their backs and pressing their legs. Guard Chen was shocked, and the knife in his hand was also taken away. In a panic, he was stabbed in his shoulder, and blood suddenly surged. Ah! Hongwei shouted shrilly. She was dragged to the ground, and the chaos made people step on it, causing her whole body to curl up on the ground. What's even more unlucky is that one of the swords that were taken away by the hungry people fell and just hit her in the face, and immediately made a hole. The hungry people were all crazy, and many dirty hands were tearing and grabbing each other in her arms, pulling out the bags and snatching each other. Hongwei screamed and wanted to sit up, but her face was stepped on by someone. The wound completely collapsed, and the sticky blood flowed down her chin. However, no one cares about her life or death. The hungry people are competing for the baggage they have stolen. No matter what food they have, they just stuff them into their mouths. The woman who had previously asked for food went to grab the pastry from the strong man, crying, "Leave some for my child, I beg you, please. Get out." The strong man threw the woman out and threw the child in her arms out, and rolled down with a touch. The scene was so chaotic that it became increasingly uncontrollable. On the official road, Yu Linlong's family was walking. The pedestrians on the other carriages and donkeys were frightened to the point of fear that they would affect them. One person robbed everyone, and the hungry people jumped onto the Yulinlang carriage like crazy, and were shot by Jiujin with a fire stick. Yu Linlong's face looked like frost, and she raised her hand to lift the curtain. Jiujin flew out, stepped on the roof of the carriage and sneered, "I advise you not to move those 2 cars of things. There is no food on it, only some poisonous flowers and poisonous weeds. If you are not afraid of poisoning, go eat it, but don't blame others if you die. Don't talk nonsense to them. Search for cars." The hungry people who were snatching the red-eyed raised their knives high, not caring about so much. No mistakes, 1 song, 1 content, 1 in 6, 1 book, 1 bar, 1 reading. I see who dares to hit my girl. Jiujin's eyes widened, ready to go. Swoosh! A stream of arrows shot down the knife held high in the hands of the hungry man. There was a loud, clang, sound, scaring the hungry people's faces turned pale. What followed was the rolling horses' hooves swept by the wind and sand. Everyone looked back in shock and saw a young general wearing black armor galloping towards him, raising a token in his hand, and speaking very quickly. The sacrificial envoy went to Weizhou City for disaster relief, all the food for disaster relief already on the road. During this period, any hungry people who cause chaos and do not obey control and wantonly plunder and provoke trouble will be dealt with strictly in accordance with the law of the Great Qi, and the bandits will be killed without mercy. The refugees who were in chaos retreated one after another, and the knives they had taken could not hold them, and they all fell to the ground. The 2 extremely quiet roads, and the soldiers retreated sideways one after another, giving up an inconspicuous carriage in the middle. Yu Linlang glanced casually and happened to see the thick curtain hanging slowly from the opposite side. In a glance, Yu Linlang glanced at half of her cold face, and a few strands of silver threads brushed past the curtain. "Girl, what are you looking at?" Jiujin jumped off the roof of the car, his eyes curious. Yu Linlang stared at the curtain that was lowered opposite and said lightly, "Well, it's a pity. At a young age, he will not be long." "Ah." Jiujin turned around and looked at him again, scratching his head, "Which are you talking about?" Suddenly, a woman with blood on her head rushed out of the crowd with her child in her arms and called for help. "Doctor, is there any doctor helping you?" "Master, please save my son." "Save him." The woman was trembling with the unconscious child in her arms, and rushed to the young general's horse and cried bitterly. "Can there be a doctor here?" The young general looked around and asked. "If you shake him, you will be disabled even if you don't die." Yu Linlang poked out half of her body and slowly got out of the car with Jiujin's hand. "Treasures, don't miss it when you pass by, collect the vote and leave a message, love you." End of this chapter. After returning home, the crown prince's concubine's vest could no longer be hidden. Chapter 6, Slap in the Face. Chapter 6, Slap in the Face. Everyone turned their heads and saw that the girl was slender, wearing a plain dress, with a cool and affectionate look. Are you a doctor?" The woman was overjoyed. "Put down." Yu Linlang stepped forward to observe the situation of the boy, took his pulse and then lifted his eyelids to look. Just now, the wicked man threw my son out." The woman choked and said, "Doctor, my son will be fine, right? The pupils on the right side are slightly dissipated, not particularly serious." Yu Linlang murmured in a low voice, turning to the woman and saying, "You go and borrow a wooden mortar." He also ordered Jiujin to take some thick cotton cloth and wrap it on the child's head. After the woman hurriedly took the wooden mortar over, she turned it upside down on the child's head and pressed it tightly. Everyone looked curious and watched. "Just do this, doctor," the woman asked in a trembling voice. "Learn a little. If there is any repetition at night, just do it for the child again." Yu Linlang spoke lightly, took a small wooden stick, and taught the woman how to do it while patting the bottom of the mortar. The child quickly woke up and cried out. The woman also cried bitterly. "Son, my son," she called out, "Doctor, is it okay for my son to do this? Then, do you need to take medicine?" Yu Linlang untied the cloth on the child's head and stroked the bones inch by inch of fingertips. "It's nothing serious, it's okay to eat or not. If you really don't feel at ease, I'll leave you a prescription for later use. 2 cents of calamus, 2 cents of lu jinu, 3 cents of sumu." Yu Linlang recited, and Jiujin quickly picked up his pen and wrote a prescription and handed it to the woman. Do you want to bandage it first?" The woman also knelt on her forehead just now, because the child was in a coma and couldn't take care of herself. At this time, half of her face was covered in blood, which was quite scary. "Then I would like to thank the girl." The woman looked grateful and blessed. Looking at this girl's young age, her medical skills are good. The onlookers couldn't help but whisper. "Is that true?" The child had already hit his head, so why did he knock it with a stick? "Is this okay? Why don't you go?" They have all woken up the child. Yu Linlang ignored what others were talking about and left after doing what she should do. Unexpectedly, Hongwei rushed over with her disheveled hair and threw herself under her feet. Yu Linlang frowned, and saw that she was dressed in a disheveled manner and had a very indecent face. She took 3 steps back before she stood still. Hongwei saw that she disliked herself, and a hint of anger flashed in her eyes. She crawled in front of her and crawled again and again, screaming in her mouth, Miss, please save me, look at my face, okay it hurts, my face hurts so much. I only understand a little about practicing medicine." Yu Linlang replied coldly, "Your face is so bad. Doctors are not gods and cannot be saved." Hongwei was furious, but she was still relying on Yu Linlang to treat her, so she suppressed her anger and climbed forward, reaching out to grab Yu Linlang's skirt. "Miss, please save me, please save me. You just woke the child up in just a few seconds. You must have a way to save my face, right?" Yu Linlang stared at her skirt that was tightly held in her hand, and slowly squatted down to look straight to her eyes. "Isn't this a match?" Hongwei looked at her ice pool-like eyes and shook her body for no reason. What? She asked with wide eyes. Yu Linlang stretched out 2 slender fingers, gently tucked Hongwei's jaw, staring at each other coldly, and a trace of mockery slowly raised. "You are already abominable, but now, you are really. People hate ghosts and ghosts hate them." Speaking of the last word, annoy, Yu Linlang pushed her blood-stained face to one side. He stripped his skirt from the other party bit by bit, and Yu Linlang ignored Hongwei crying and roaring, and came straight to the young general. She gave a blessing, and the other party was stunned and quickly bowed back. The mansion was not strict in discipline, so the maid made trouble on the road. She took out the food and intrigues just now, so she caused this food scramble and had nothing to do with others. The adults took her and handed over the job. The girl is kind and wise and understands the righteousness. Thank you here. Yu Linlang nodded lightly, walked towards the carriage. Seeing that some soldiers came forward to take him seriously, Hongwei was so scared that she shrank and screamed, "What are you doing? Let me go." "Yu Linlang, I am the girl and the madam of the Weizhou governor, what qualifications do you have to take me?" Yu Linlang turned around suddenly, a glimmer of light flashing in his eyes. "You are so dirty, and you still want to go home with me? You can afford to lose this person, your governor's mansion cannot afford to lose this person. A small family still wants to challenge the majesty of the country and the law. Do you believe that if your wife is here, she would have already made you a who is provoking trouble without reason, and who is willing to act like a fox and a tiger-powered man, and will be killed on the spot?" Hongwei was so scared that she was limp and slumped to the ground like a flood. Fortunately, there was a soldier supporting her body, otherwise her 2 noodles-like legs would be useless to stomp on her soft legs. No mistakes, 1 song, 1 content, 1 in 6, 1 book, 1 bar, 1 reading. Madame, who was also so scared that her face turned pale, and she had not yet come back to her soul. The two girls supported her and walked forward tremblingly. As soon as they called out, "Girl," Yu Linlang turned around, and his ears fell heavily on her face, and his head was skewed. "I still want to plead with you. Look at the good maid you trained by the wife of the Zhang family." Yu Linlang angrily shouted in a cold voice, "It's embarrassing," and not picking on the spot. She rushed into the car angrily, fell off the curtain, and cold Bing Bing ordered, "Go." She didn't want to plead for Homeway. Madame, who was very sad and angry. She covered her old face that was slapped red, and she was angry and wished she could faint on the spot. She has been in the mansion for more than 10 years, and has never suffered such humiliation. How could the legitimate daughter behead her? It was clearly slapping the governor's face. Several refugees who took advantage of the chaos to smash and loot were arrested by the officers and soldiers, and soon the carriage moved slowly along the crowd. Jiojin poured a cup of tea for her girl and stuffed a soft pillow behind her waist. Yu Linlang stretched out her fingers to rub the warm cup, and sneered in her heart. She had to deal with the girl who was above the top before returning home, but she didn't expect that she was so stupid and had to kill herself without her having to do anything. Look, this is the good slave she raised by the noble governor's wife's mother. It's time to make things difficult for her again and again. Yu Linlang raised his finger and lifted the curtain lightly, and happened to see a person coming out of the carriage opposite. Hair is like silver frost and snow, and eyes are like fog dyed clear. It is obviously an official road that makes people feel like a little shocking in a painting, and his face is peerless and untainted. In winter, the dust is fine and fine. When the car is passing by, Yu Linlang gently lowers the curtain and sits upright. The young man was approaching the horse and passed by Yu Linlang carriage. "Criminal, why have you got off the car? It's windy outside and extremely wet and cold. You guys, why don't you get the prince's cloak?" Jiojin added some hot water to his girl, opened a corner of the curtain and looked at it. "Miss, it seems that snow is falling again." End of this chapter. After returning home, the crown prince's concubine's vest could no longer be hidden. Chapter 7, Have some face. Chapter 7, Be good at face. The fine and dense snow was getting heavier and heavier. After 6 consecutive days of storm, a thick layer had accumulated on the road. The refugees who were already hungry were even more hungry and cold, and many elderly, weak and sick fell down and failed to get up, and cried along the way. Yu Linlang lifted up a crack in the curtain, reached out to take out a crystal-clear snowflake, and rubbed the coolness of his fingertips. "Since we vacated 2 carriages overnight 5 days ago for General Xiao Zhao to arrange them separately, there are now more than a dozen boxes of flowers and plants in the carriage. The master and servant often squeeze to one side, and they couldn't even place the charcoal basin." In order to make Yu Linlang feel a little more comfortable, Jiojin rested outside with the coachman at night. The cold wind and snow came overnight, and it was all stewed by bowls of soup. General Xiao Zhao brought people to raise some rice and grain, and said to be making some beans and corn porridge tonight. Jiojin stomped the snow particles on his legs, shook his neck and got into the car, and brought Yu Linlang a bowl of soup. "As soon as the girl told me, we donated all the 4 bags of corn left, which is a bit of my heart." Yu Linlang nodded. "Alas, although we cook 3 large buckets of soup every night, there are too many refugees, so it's not enough to share. Just do your best." Yu Linlang's face looked light and there was not much movement. There are so many pitiful people in the world. It is nonsense to say that they can help you. I heard that there was a lady from the Li family in front of me who freed up all the carriages she was sitting in for the hungry people to use. Many people knelt on their knees and called him a living bodhisattva. Yu Linlang nodded again, looking unanswered. Jiojin reached out and lifted a corner of the curtain and whispered out the window, "Here, that Miss Li has been standing there for a long time." The cold wind kept holding it like this, and it was not too tired. Yu Linlang glanced at her eyes, and her eyes paused on the Miss Li, who was standing elegantly with her swan neck raised, and then landed on the carriage behind her. It is said that the court appointed 2 appeasement envoys to jointly handle the disaster relief matter. The person in the carriage is the prince of the Xianping home mansion who came from the capital. Yu Linlang shook his head. This Xianping Ho mansion is probably a place that is not favored. What does this mean for a girl? Jiujin was curious. If the emperor's kindness is so great, how could he have appointed a person who is sick and life hangs on the line to come out in the cold winter to seek death? Do you have to send someone to check the details? What should I do? Yu Linlang was speechless. It's just a dying person, what does it have to do with me? She reached out and patted the forehead. Don't be suspicious all day long, rest early, look at this speed, you have to last another 2 nights before you can enter the city. However, in the middle of the night, Yu Linlang was awakened by the quarrels. Pushing the swelling brain kernel, Yu Linlang relaxed his hands and feet. Who is making noise outside? Miss, I am the daughter of the Mu family in Lizhou who accidentally gets cold. I want to ask you to come and have a look. Madam Hu raised a loud voice in Gao Batu and urged him quickly, come down and take a look. Jiujin is too rude. What? Everyone said that my girl is not a doctor, so she looks for a doctor if she is sick. In the medicine hall, I came to make trouble for my girl to rest in the middle of the night, and this is the real rudeness. You dare to lift the curtain without authorization, I will chop off the hands of you, the old fool. With Jiujin's sudden shout, the 2 mothers who wanted to force the curtain to lift the curtain took awkwardly. Yu Linlang lifted half of the curtain by himself, and his eyes were cold and swept the people under the car. Madam Hu led a few maids to push the coachman aside, and 2 powerful old wives of Kong Wu stood in front of Jiujin. It was thought that they were the servants of the Mu family of Lizhou. Miss Yu. Madam Hu stepped forward and opened her mouth as if she was fired. Save people is like putting out fires. Come and show them. Miss Li's father is our master's colleague and friend. You have to treat it with all your heart. Yu Linlang raised his eyelids lightly. Miss is a noble body. I am a person who is a little versatile in superficial medical theory. I am afraid it will be difficult for me to be a doctor. The mother of the Mu family in Lizhou stomped her feet and said angrily, isn't this the road blocking refugees from front and back, and the car is slow and I can't enter the city as soon as possible. So I asked you to come to Miss Yu. What's your attitude to begging for others? Who do you want to intimidate? The other woman was very obedient and saw this and hurriedly knelt on the ground, shouting in a sarcasm, Miss, I am very kind, please help my girl. No mistakes, 1 song, 1 content, 1 in 6, 1 book, 1 bar, 1 reading. Yu Linlang's face was calm and she waved her hand, forget it, it's okay to go over and take a look. For the medical path, I'm just a little clear of the skin, and there is no handy medicine available at hand. Are you sure to treat my lady? The old lady was furious because of many ruthlessness. Yu Linlang shook her head calmly, I haven't seen anyone, how can I tell you? Go and bring the 3rd lady over. The old lady in the provincial Muslim house said with a cold face, call more girls to clean up the car so that my girl can lie more comfortably. Jiujin opened his mouth wide and seemed to be shocked by the shamelessness of the person in front of him so much that he could not speak. However, Madam Hu had already brought a few girls to nod and bowed, okay. What's good? Jiujin reacted, and his chest was so angry that he almost exploded. Just see a doctor. What's the matter? The incense burner rushed up to welcome the monk. Do you want to occupy the magpie's nest? How do you girl talk? That's the lady from the provincial governor's palace. How could she take advantage of her nest? Madam Hu wanted to go up and pull Jiujin, but the latter raised her hand and punched her, and half of her old face was frozen. Don't be beaten by my mother. Jiujin was furious and rushed to the head of Madam Hu several times, I wonder if you are not the dog raised by the governor's wife. When did you become a dog from the provincial governor's mansion again? Before they could chew your bones, they just wagged their tails. Are you shy? The 2 mothers in the provincial Muslim house were so angry that their faces turned blue. They looked up at Yu Linlang, Miss Yu, your fists and mouth are also too fierce. Yu Linlang actually smiled at them, the 2 nannies have won the award. It was clearly Zhang Pingqi's face, but this smile seemed to be melting on the snow, and a wave of beautiful water spread out, causing Mu Feng, who had run out of the car and peeked at the excitement, to be stunned for a moment. Big brother, brother. He jumped into the car quickly and said with an excited look on his face. The girl in the car opposite is even the girl around him is quite interesting. I have never seen such a powerful girl, and I have disagreement. Just hit someone. You said I sent someone to buy this girl from her, would the lady be willing? Peeling a woman in the middle of the night for a quarrel is not a gentleman's behavior. You also want to buy a girl raised by a daughter from a boudoir. You are simply outrageous. If you are really empty, you will return to the city for me earlier and meet with Lord Liu. Mu Xiaorong leaned lightly with his face. On the side, there was a trace of tiredness in his expression. Mu Feng shrank his head, I don't. Before I came out, I promised my mother that I would follow you without leaving any step and check your physical condition at any time. End of this chapter. After returning home, the Crown Prince's concubine's vest could no longer be hidden. Chapter 8, The Plants Are More Expensive. Chapter 8, The Plants Are More Expensive. When Yu Linlang followed the two mothers, several girls from the provincial governor's house were hurriedly hugging their ladies and crying. At first, Yu Linlang thought their lady was dead and she cried like a howling, but when she started to take the pulse, she felt that she was okay. Just after taking a closer look, a strange look suddenly appeared on Yu Linlang's face. Miss is a noble body, and her body loses heat due to the external cold wind. This is normal. If a person's body does not have time to adapt to the external cold, symptoms such as fever, headache, and soreness. Gently pressing several parts of Miss Li's abdomen. When she heard her sob, Yu Linlang said again, the lips are dry and white, and the cold air enters the body. The wind and cold cause abdominal pain and yin deficiency. The lady is already weak, so she shouldn't be in this open place. Eat the wind. Take more quilts to wrap to see if you can sweat. Seeing a maid bringing a bowl of hot soup over, Yu Linlang glanced at him and said, how many bowls have you drunk? This is the third bowl, is there any problem? Jiang Tang dispels wind and cold, warms the stomach, can relieve muscles and promote blood circulation. It is not advisable to use it more in this situation, just put it in moderation. The maid frowned and glanced at the old lady beside her. The old woman who knew the current affairs in front of me smiled and said, I wonder if I can prescribe a prescription for my lady? Yu Linlang shook his head, Miss is in good condition. After returning to the city, she can go to the ordinary medicine hall to prepare some decoctions and drink it. Since I have no medicine available, I will not be embarrassed. I wonder if Miss you can get acupuncture. My old lady heard that a powerful doctor can also help patients with a lot of pain. Yu Linlang's face was dull, you can't the needles randomly, like your lady, now, it's not the critical moment for acupuncture. If something happens to it, can you take responsibility for it? The old lady smiled and pulled the corners of her mouth, so, according to your opinion, what should my lady do now? If you have strong winds and snows, you can only cover yourself with more things. It is best to enter the city as soon as possible. The old lady looked up at the clusters of snow, and stepped forward to wrap the cloak on Miss Li San's body tightly. Miss you, I wonder if I can lend you a carriage. You have also seen that my lady is kind-hearted and rewards her carriage to the poor and hungry people. It's really a bit embarrassed if the cold disease and the cold is like this today. If you want, I wonder if I can let my lady be with you. Crowd in the carriage for 1 or 2 nights. We will never bother you too much. We should serve you in your daily life. Yu Linlang looked at her and shook her head, I'm afraid it's not very convenient. You've seen it just now. There are too many things piled up in my carriage, and I can't make any gaps. Seeing that she was about to leave, the old lady couldn't help but scream, why can't you free up the ground? You can just move those potted plants down. Jiojin rolled his eyes while listening. Oh, Miss Yu, those flowers and plants can be seen everywhere. When I return to Weizhou Prefecture City, let our wife give you any pots. Now you are kind and help our lady. Could it be that those ordinary flowers and plants are there? Can you still compare to my third lady's life? When Yu Linlang heard this, he nodded seriously, it's true. The old woman opened her mouth and wanted to say something, but she was choked up, I am not easy to plant flowers and plants, and it is hard to cultivate them. Some are the only one in the world. Yu Linlang nodded slowly and said expressionlessly, compared with your third lady, plants are indeed more expensive. What's more, The one who gave up the carriage was the lady of the family. Those who failed to dissuade him in time were you servants. If your lady had a few mistakes on the way, and you would be the one who went back to receive the punishment, you would be the one who was with me. What's the relationship? It was a chance meeting, and I kindly treated your lady. You shouldn't just rely on me, right? In this way, the tutor of the provincial governor's office is really impressive. The maid from the provincial Muslim house was so angry that she could only watch Yu Lin Lang and his servant leave in disappointment. Madame, who covered half of her swollen face and took a few steps forward, almost unable to hide her anger in her eyes, "Girl, you really shouldn't offend the people of the provincial and minister's office. Do you know that the master's annual evaluation and Li Zhoumu's opinions are extremely important? You are so slow to treat the lady of the provincial magister's mansion, you will know how much trouble it will cause to our master." Yu Lin Lang glanced at her and got on the carriage without any intention of explaining. Jiujin bowed and put down the curtain. When he turned his head, Madame who was so scared that she took several steps back. "You, what do you want to do?" Madame who asked in surprise with a green face. "I was really afraid of this dead girl, so she lifted her fist up at any time. Until now, she felt that her face hurt so much. Don't disturb the girl's rest. If you don't want to be beaten, just squeeze your tail and go away." Jiujin took out a fire stick from behind, held it in his hand and waited. The latter hurriedly dispersed like birds and beasts. When Madame Hu and his friends climbed onto the ox cart, the girls couldn't help but whisper with white faces, "This girl is really indifferent. It's not just that the oil and salt don't come in." Madame Hu felt a chill in her heart, "I'm still very cruel and ruthless." The eyes she glanced at just now were so cold and terrifying, her eyes were as if she was looking at a corpse, and she felt very frustrated from the bottom of her heart. This Miss Yu is really evil. Since the desperate Hongwei was escorted away, Madame Hu felt that the matter had completely diverged from the direction given by her wife. No mistakes, one song, one content, 1 in 6, one book, one bar, one reading. The situation seemed to be controlled by Miss Yu alone, and many times Madame Hu and others dared not say much. Fortunately, the journey was still smooth in the next 2 days, but the car was still moving slowly when it was caught among the refugees. But General Zhao and his party followed the road, and there was no trouble during this period. Moreover, the closer we get to Weizhou Prefecture City, the more porridge and medicine shops I have set up along the way. The snow stopped, and there was still a hint of humid air in the air. Yu Lin Lang lifted the curtain and saw it, her eyes falling on the vast city tower not far away. Weizhou Prefecture City has arrived. Along the city wall, hundreds of relief wooden sheds of various sizes were built at the door. The hungry people huddled inside, their faces were pale and thin, trembling, and each of them had a bitter look full of wind and frost. Yu Lin Lang lowered her eyes and lowered the curtain. The carriage and horses were shaking, and they were blocked on one side of the road shortly after entering the city, making it difficult to get in. Jiujin lifted the curtain with one hand and tilted his head to her, "Girl, there is a large group of people blocking the front, as if something happened." Yu Lin Lang held her hand and got out of the carriage, and heard the crying of men and women, screaming intermittently, "The baby is only 5 months old. You quack doctors mislead people, you mislead people. Oh, Hui Chuntang is so careless. Do you have to give everyone some explanation?" Yu Lin Lang slowly got out of the car with Jiujin's hand. Madame Hu hurried forward to stop her, "Girl, there are so many people over there, so we should not go there. Start up." End of this chapter. After returning home, the Crown Prince's concubine's vest could no longer be hidden. Chapter 9, Even if the tiger poison is not eaten. Chapter 9, The tiger is poisonous and doesn't eat her child. Jiujin pushed away the woman blocking the road without hesitation, and held her girl's hand and moved forward a few steps. She was very strong, and Yu Lin Lang was protected by her, and others could not get close to her, so most of them could only stare at her nose and hum. The master and servant came to Huichan Hall directly and saw Yao Tong fighting with a strong man. But it was obvious that the young man was not the man's opponent and was pushed to the ground and beaten with a punch. An old woman was sitting next to her, slapped her legs and cried, "Hui Chuntang quack can't cure my child," and she is still so angry that she starts to hit someone. The old woman slapped her legs rhythmically, howling and screaming, "Oh, is there any law of the heavenly rule?" A young doctor blushed and supported the breathless old doctor, stuttering, "You, don't mess around. Your child is clearly dead when he was sent. We are not gods, how to save the corpse? Fuck." The old woman jumped up and cursed with a fierce look on her face. When my second girl came, she was obviously angry. She was just misdiagnosed. My good children were buried in the hands of you quack doctors. You. Why are you so unreasonable? The young doctor's face was so purple that his eyes were filled with tears. Who is unreasonable? The strong man was pulled away by two spectators, turned his head and roared, "Is it the reason why you are a doctor in Huachuntang to kill us farmers? We know that in the eyes of you nobles, we are the soil in the fields and the grass in the corners. But my second girl has a life, so I can't just let it go. Did you hurt your head?" A dry and thin woman was hugging the baby tightly and shed tears silently. Suddenly, she heard Yu Linlang ask softly, and her body stiffened. She was standing a few steps away from Yu Linlang. When she saw Yu Linlang approaching to check, she hurriedly hugged the child and took her back. "Yes, I just cowed out my head accidentally." The old woman stepped forward and blocked everyone, screaming loudly, "It was a small bruise, but I was actually treated to death by the quack doctor in Huachuntang. Poor my second girl lost her life when she was only 5 months old." Yu Linlang glanced at the howling old woman. "I just took a look and found that your granddaughter's head had sunken injuries on both sides. This was obviously not what you said, so I accidentally bumped it. Just report it to the official." She looked up at the old doctor at the door of Huichun Hall. "Since you have any questions, why not report to the official? Ask a coroner to test the injury, you will know it once you test it. Why bother to argue with others here and congestion on the road? It's really inappropriate." Yes, report to the official now." The old doctor reacted and nodded repeatedly. He was so dizzy that he was so troubled by the family that he was so troubled that he was missing. Now he met the girl Qing Lingling's eyes in front of him, and he was a little calmer for no reason. The old woman was startled and shouted and angrily, "Can't you report to the official? What official should you report to? Who doesn't know that you who run clinics are in the court? What's the use of reporting to the official? You are not protecting each other." Yu Linlang almost laughed out loud. "Old lady, on this street of Weizhou Fuchun, you shouted to protect the officials. Where is the governor of Weizhou? You are so unrestrained and despise the court. Let me remind you that you will be in the street. He will beat you up the 30 boards and throw himself into prison to punish you for slandering the court officials." The old lady was confused, her face turned from blue to yellow, and then she sat down to the ground, continuing to make her tantrums and howl over and over again. The strong man quickly stepped forward to hug his mother, turned his head and glared at Yu Linlang viciously. "Why are you scaring my mother? She is just a peasant woman in the village, how can she know whether to slander?" Seeing that a medicine boy ran out of the crowd to report to the official, the strong man also became anxious. "Forget it, I won't talk too much to you. You pay me a tael of money, I will go back to the village to bury my poor daughter." "Forget it." The onlookers couldn't help but sigh. "You block the road and prevent pedestrians from passing through. You want to run away because of such a big deal? It's not that easy." Jiojin sneered. The man turned his head and glared at the master and servant. "What do you noble ladies know? We farmers just want to ask the clinic for funeral expenses. The official mission is here." Someone shouted in the crowd, scaring the peasant woman and her son, and their faces turned pale. "Ah, why are we coming so quickly?" The old woman stood up and patted her butt, grabbed her son's hand and shouted, "Let's go, don't talk to them, we are unlucky, let's go." The mother and son stepped forward and grabbed the Muleng woman who was holding the baby, grabbed her and wanted to run out. However, the crowd is congested, and it is not easy for them to run out. The people in Huichun Hall were not fools. Seeing that they were guilty and wanted to escape, they naturally rushed up and stopped them. There was also a medicine boy who was quick-witted and quickly grabbed the child, turned around and shouted, "Officials are the master, officials are the master." The crowd was driven away by the officers and soldiers and separated to the sides. Jiujin protected his girl and avoided a little. I saw a group of officers wearing official uniforms coming here surrounded by several adults. Everyone's eyes were immediately attracted by the handsome man with a body like pine, cypress, jade trees, and hair like snow and silver frost. No mistakes, one song, one content, 1 in 6, one book, one bar, one reading. The young gray hair is sad. Please, Prince. Yu Shoudao bowed with sweat all over his head, and asked the Mu Zhao brothers to take the lead. Today was really unlucky. I came to the city gate to welcome the prince and his party, but ended up hitting a shrew who abused the court officials in the street. At this time, I was in a state of ease. Mu Zhao nodded, his deep and bright eyes filled with stars, and the sea of deep and bright eyes looked around, turned his head and whispered to Chang Sui beside him, "Go and invite Lord Lu and the others." Yes. The young doctor in Hua Chuntang quickly helped his grandfather forward and knelt in front of Yu Shoudao. "My lord is wronged." Yu Shoudao looked calm and bowed to Mu Zhao on one side. "This is the son of the Prince of Xianping, and the magistrate appointed by the court. This official is Yu Shoudao, the governor of Weizhou. What are your grievances? Come all the way." The young doctor's narrative was smooth, and he said the important things in the future. He looked at Yu Shou expectantly and said, "Sir, everyone in Huichun Hall can swear to the sky that they sent a dead baby, and there is no false words. Ha! If you die, let this miss you know it after a test." Mu Feng suddenly jumped in front of everyone, and showed a look of watching the show to Yu Linlang and his servant. Yu Linlang was standing silently on one side, secretly looking at her good father she had never met before. She was suddenly named and was a little stunned for a moment. Yu Shoudao and others heard the 3 words, "miss you," and turned to look at her. The two looked at each other, and Yu Shoudao felt that the girl's eyes were as bright as snow and as clear as ice. End of this chapter. After returning home, the crown prince's concubine's vest could no longer be hidden. Chapter 10, Human heart is as poisonous as snakes and. Chapter 10 Human hearts are as poisonous as snakes and scorpions. Yu Linlang's face was cold and gave a light gift, and Jiujin also followed him. But Mu Feng was moving very quickly and ordered someone to carry the baby to hand it to Yu Linlang. Jiujin stepped forward and stopped his girl, and said angrily with a cold face, "My girl is not a coroner." "Oh, she has such good medical skills, just take a look." "Young master, don't talk nonsense. How can you do this casually? You have a specialized career, but my girl doesn't know how to use coroner." Mu Feng blinked and looked at the little girl who was not tall in front of him with a look of surprise. "Hey, you little girl, you know how to specialize in your profession. You are indeed not an ordinary little girl." Xiaofeng. Mu Zhao frowned and stared at his younger brother. "Don't mess around." "Oh, brother, Lord Lu and the others have not arrived yet, so let Miss Yu help you see it first. Maybe you can really see something," Mu Feng said as he shook his eyes at the guards. Jiujin widened his eyes and had no choice but to catch the baby that the guard forced him to come over, turned to look at Yu Linlang, looking at him at a loss. Mu Zhao glared at his younger brother in disapproval. "I am not obsessed with my temperament, so I don't have to pay attention. If the girl avoids anything, it's okay not to look at it. Just hand it over to the CG of the criminal prison." Yu Linlang turned his head and looked at him, nodding gently. The streets are bustling with crowds. One is a noble son of a noble family who is as vast as the stars in the night sky and as silver frost as snow. A little girl with a clear and cold face. Mu Feng twisted his head, looked at his elder brother, then at the little girl, and finally met Jiujin's eyes wide open and smiled. "Humph." Jiujin rolled his eyes without hesitation. The old doctor in Hua Chuntang was helped by someone and walked forward 2 steps, and bowed to Yu Linlang. "It's just now that the girl reminded me, I've been awake for a moment. If the girl knows how to treat her, I might as well help me see if I misdiagnosed Hua Chuntang, and I hope the girl will be a witness. I'm so grateful." Yu Linlang glanced at the expectant doctor, sighed and nodded. "Carry out a table. Can you have a handguard?" "Yes, there are, girls, wait." Yu Linlang ordered Jiujin to put the baby on the wooden table. Seeing this, the old woman rushed forward and wanted to rob, and shouted, "What are you doing? Jiujin carried the old lady back with one hand and pulled the person back. The old woman was anxious, angry, and panicked. Her little eyes kept flashing. "Oh, you should be angry with the old woman. My old woman was over 50 years old and she was still caught and beaten in the street. Okay, you are amazing, you are all big shots. We can't fight you, we don't want to compensate you, we'll go back now." Jiujin grabbed a roll of bandage cloth on the table and stuffed it into the old woman's mouth. The world was immediately quiet, and the onlookers couldn't help but suck. Yu Linlang didn't care about what was around her. She had gently untied the child's cloth and looked at her head with a cold expression. The bone age of the deceased is less than May. After a word fell, everything around him became quiet. The right temporal bone, parietal bone and occipital bone of the head have comminuted fractures about 5 inches long and 2 inches wide, compounding fractures. The parietal bone extends to both sides, about 3 inches long fracture line. Yu Linlang groped through the child's head and took a deep breath, the head of the herringbone crack and the multidirectional skull fracture. Left upper arm, right leg bone, shoulder, elbow. Yu Linlang couldn't speak anymore, and took a breath and reached out to cover the child's cloth. At first glance, there were as many as 20 blow injuries on his body, and the fatal injury was the head. All the pieces were broken. If you accidentally bump, you can't do this no matter how you bump. This is caused by someone's repeated blows. As for the time of death, let the professional coroner, based on the corpse spots, we can speculate. At the first glance, the corpse is stagnant, and it is definitely not dead between 1 or 2 minutes. The old doctor nodded excitedly as if he was wronged and was amnesty. Yes, when the child was sent to the pharmacy, Chu took a look and his pulse was gone. But the child's grandmother immediately packed the bag and then went out and shouted, saying that we were unable to save the child. But we doctors are also human beings, so we are not gods. How can we compete with King Yama? The many people eating melons all took a breath and stared at the little baby on the table. Although the crowd didn't understand the various skulls and temporal bones, they understood the fractures and the falls, so they all stared at the old lady's family in shock. Ah! Did you get beaten to death? I'm going to frame Hua Chuntang if I'm beaten to death. Oh, this family is so vicious. A child who is only 4 or 5 months old is so angry, what kind of hatred is this? The woman, who was originally covered in a muddy face, looked at everyone pointing at the family, and quickly lowered her head and her neck shrank again and again. Don't talk nonsense, don't listen to her nonsense. We don't have it, no. The strong man scratched his ears and roared. No mistakes, 1 song, 1 content, 1 in 6, 1 book, 1 bar, 1 reading. Yu Linlang had already taken off his handguard and gave a greeting to the doctors in Hua Chuntang who repeatedly bowed and thanked him. He turned around and left. The strong man saw that the 2 masters and servants had done something and left. He hurriedly chased after them for 2 steps, rushing over with his big fist, "You careless woman, who would kill the baby?" Mu Zhao's eyes became solemn, and the 2 bodyguards rushed forward to stop them. But before they could rush to the man, the round-faced girl kicked the man to the ground, then jumped up and punched him one after another. All of them greeted him in the face, "You are just a mess, and you are worthy of being your father." 9 Jean. Yu Linlang glanced at her deep eyes. Jiujin kicked the man hard, then stepped on him and spat with contempt. In this world, not everyone is worthy of being a father. The little girl's eyes were fierce, and Yu Shoudao felt that she seemed to be staring at her. When they came to their senses, the master and servant had already walked past the crowd, and their eyes were not given a single point. On this side, when Lu Qian received the order from the Prince of Xianping Ho and hurriedly brought people to him, he saw a girl with a plain face coming towards him. The long hair was lifted with a thin green bamboo. As his clothes flew, he was walking like the wind. When he passed by, Lu Qian couldn't help but pause and looked back with pity. Lord Lu is here. Is the coroner, old Li, here? There are corpses of infants and children who need to be examined. This is Lord Jilu of the Jinju SC and the deputy envoy of the pacification envoy for this trip. Prince Mu Zhao's voice drifted into Yu Linlang's ears with the wind. Warm and gentle, very recognizable. Yu Linlang pedaled into the car, her face still heavy. Jiujin was careful, what's wrong with a girl? Yu Linlang took the teacup she handed over and sighed, I feel uncomfortable. I think it's so difficult for an ordinary woman to grow up. Girl. Jiujin gently held his girl's hand. Suddenly, there was a bang not far away, and it seemed that a heavy object suddenly fell in front of their car. End of this chapter.